International tourist traffic, let's focus on that. It was at its strongest level in the first half of 2017, with the World Tourism Organization, in fact, describing it as the strongest half year in 7 years. Those are numbers everyone wants to hear about. Now, growth was largest in the Middle East. Traffic was up about 9% year on year. Europe and Africa both saw traffic, if you average it out, going up by about 8% year on year. Traffic to North African destinations was up 16%, with strong rebounds in two countries of note, Egypt and Tunisia. Now, for companies like Jumia Travel, that rebound is a positive development, even in really tough markets like Nigeria and Egypt. When I spoke to the firm's new CEO, Joe Falter, a little earlier, I asked him why, in his view, Jumia has barely scratched the surface of the online hotel and flight booking business in sub-Saharan Africa.
We've been through the phase of building up that inventory, and over the last 2 to 3 years, we've been investing very, very heavily in marketing, in operational improvements to generate the customer base that we have, which today numbers in the hundreds of thousands. So it's a business now that is, I wouldn't say big, because I think, in my opinion, we've barely scratched the surface of what the full potential is. Someone would say,
you know, 30,000 hotel partners, 40 countries, that at face value looks fairly large.
Yeah, I think for me though, the next challenge, and the one that I'm particularly excited to take on board in joining the business now, is that the African travel sector remains fairly offline. So the proportion of people that are booking hotels online remains quite low. It's quite, so I think for me the challenge is, how can we firstly build awareness amongst this group of people who will typically go to travel agents or maybe book directly upon arrival at hotels and face all kinds of potential issues around availability or pricing. How can we firstly build awareness with that group of people, and then the next step is to earn their trust and to earn their repeat business once they find out that things are much easier, easier to find the best prices, to interact with hotels. It's a much more seamless experience to do it online.
Have you broken even yet in terms of operations? And if not, when do you expect to at least break even and just be able to cover your costs?
Yeah, and this is one of the big challenges that I'm really, going to take on with this job. So we're not a profitable company. That's fully in line with our business model. In fact, I wouldn't want to be profitable at this point, because our focus remains on there's often a trade-off between rapid growth and profitability.
You have to spend money to make money.
Exactly. And we've decided over the last 2 years or so, big investment in marketing, maximum growth. And I think now is a good time to revisit that, to continue to grow in a sustainable way, but also to set our sights towards break even. And that's, I think if we can do that in the next year or so, 18 months, I think it's already a good result. It's not the first thing that will keep me up at night, but we need to set that path, and that's absolutely one of my challenges coming up.
Right, so last one, Nigeria and Egypt. These are two markets that are fairly large in scale, but they've also had some pretty significant economic problems. Nigeria was in its first recession in 25 years. Yeah. Egypt devalued their currency in November last year. And in both countries, they've had this very strong flirtation with capital controls, at least in Egypt's case, that eased off after November. Nigeria is still pretty much very, heavily controlling its currency market. How's that affected hotel bookings over there, at least in those two markets?
All I can say is that year on year we're up in Nigeria over 100%. I think what I deduce from that comes back to this point around the share of people that are booking travel online.